Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am the stepson of Krypton.
And I'm Mantis.
And today, go ahead and give you a warning up front. We are going to be discussing video games, one in particular. So, if it's not your cup of tea, you come here looking for some more Superman Legacy news. Well, there isn't any. Okay, so we are going to talk about something that is
dry
near to our hearts. Okay, we got
Well
a lot of
dry
videos
this week.
already been. Yeah, well is dry this week on new Superman news, and we've had enough here lately that we've done so many videos on. Take a little bit of a break, all right? So that is, we are going to discuss a game that is near and dear to both Mantis and I's hearts, and that is Final Fantasy VII. I say this because Rebirth is getting ready to release at the end of this month, which will probably be pretty close to the time I release this video. It's still a few weeks away as of right now, and we are excited for it. Mantis, I know, just like I am, he's replaying Remake. I am trying to finish it.
Yeah. So we'll start at what's going to happen here. Like Cal mentioned at the end of this month, their Rebirth is releasing. I just got done, and I think I sent you the trailer. I know you watched it too. For the PlayStation State of Play that was released. I think it was yesterday or maybe Tuesday. I can't remember. The days are all merging together.
It's been a long
okay.
week.
Sorry. So the 6th was when they did the State of Play, which also they released a demo for the game as well, which I haven't played and I'm not going to play. We're close enough that I can finish out my remake, replay, and intermission or integrate, however you look at it, play through or replay. And then once I get finished with that, hopefully I'll be right there with Rebirth and be able to play it. And I love this game. The trailers I saw, this game, Rebirth, is nothing like Remake. It is almost a completely different game, from the combat styles to the tag team attacks to the environmental things that you can kind of use in fights. So as well as even the way you can run around the world, which is not apart from the OG game on that, but it is quite different from how they did it. So I would be really surprised if this game doesn't win Game of the Year. I would be really surprised.
So, interesting thing about Rebirth, the end of Rebirth is the end of Disc 1 in the OG game. So, we've gone 2 full games through PS5 here just to get to the end of the first disc. Now, remember, on the old PlayStation, on the original PlayStation, it was a 3-disc game.
Yeah. We've gone through Remake, and you have to add the DLC in there because it does introduce Yuffie in intermission, so you get to play that all through as well, which kind of shows her coming to Midgar, and of course she's from Wutai, so don't confuse that with Wu-Tang, because they ain't nothing to fuck with.
At the end of the day, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
But there's that. Plus, like this game, Rebirth, if you buy the hard copy, it is 2 discs. 2 Blu-ray discs. Now, I don't know what's on the second disc. It may be the same case as in the OG. The 3rd disc wasn't very long. But it's 2 Blu-ray discs. And like you said, that's Remake, Intermission, and then Rebirth is only translate to one disc from the OG game. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, I'm here for it, but it's crazy.
I'm here for it, but here's my thing. So, and I made a special point to say I am playing through it. Mantis is replaying through it, right? So I bought it when it first came out, was super excited. I was, oh my God, because I still have. If you've watched our previous video with games to movies, I show you I have both Final Fantasy 7 and 9 on PlayStation 1.
It's cars you never got. Oh, you're back. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
that is the original PlayStation Final Fantasy 7 and 9 on a PlayStation, where 7 was a 3-disc game and 9 was a 4-disc game with the little booklets they came with still. I love 7, my favorite game of all time. And when I got to Remake, if spoiler alert for those of you who haven't played it, but fuck, if you haven't played it by now, you probably weren't going to.
It's been out forever.
Yeah,
it's been out forever.
But when I started playing it, like, I love the combat system in 7. It's what I'm used to. Now, I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since 10-2. I kind of gave up. I didn't like when 11 took them online. I wasn't a fan of it. Didn't want to get involved with it. I was at the time was not even fucking with online games, so I stayed away from the last couple of Final Fantasies. So, back even in 10-2, it was still turn-based combat. 8 tried to do it where they took out the turn-based. It didn't go very well, so in 9, they went back to the turn-based. 8 tried to change everything. People didn't like it, like me. They went back. So when I started playing Final Fantasy, and it's more a hack and slash, but then you got to kind of throw the commands in there as well, and your spells and things like that. I didn't like it, or at least let's say I just wasn't used to it, right? So I didn't play it for a very long time. I just now picked it back up because I was like, you know what? We were talking about it, with Rebirth coming out. I was reading the GameStop article on it, and I was like, fuck, dude, it looks so amazing. I'm like, all right, now I'm gonna go in and I basically started over, but even though it's still not a replay because according to Mantis, I didn't get through shit on my original playthrough.
You didn't.
So,
yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. You said you got to Airbuster, right?
I had just I think I was getting ready to fight Airbuster.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't. Yeah, you didn't get really that far into the remake at all, and it's. I envy you. I told you this before. I kind of envy you because you get to experience the rest of the game for the first time, which is awesome because it is cinematically very good, and I think what helps it are a couple of things. The voice acting in this game is one. There is voice acting because in the original 7 there was no voice acting, so not only does it have it, but it is very good. The voice acting in this game is fantastic.
FYI, I will superimpose pictures of what Tifa, the voice actress of Tifa, and Areith look like because they're both smoking hot.
Yeah, I'm not sure Tifa, but I know Aerith's VA. She streams on Twitch, so I've watched a couple of her vids. Actually, she has a video stream of her playing herself, playing the game. It's actually really weird.
Is that actually considered playing with yourself though?
I mean, she doesn't play with herself on stream, which would be against Twitch's terms of service. But, she does play as herself, the character she is.
Yeah, but if she's playing as Cloud, playing with Aerith, she's playing with herself.
She is playing with herself, and then she does play as herself at certain points. But yes, it's a weird thing, but you are right. She's very attractive. It doesn't hurt that she's got one of those, if you don't look at her, you can tell that her voice is very good and made for those type of things. Like she could voice act in anime. She could voice act in video games pretty easily. She's got a very good voice for it. But yeah, and I want to kind of bring it back to your point of not liking the combat system. I kind of saw this coming after they released 15 because that was the major change over to an action style mix. I like the way 7 did it better than 15. 15 is not a very good game. It's okay. But the way 7 I don't mind action-based combat, and I like the way that they weave in abilities and limit breaks and summons in there. What I do like is the fact that in the combat in remake is summons are a special thing. Okay. So far in remake, there's not that many of them compared to what was in the original game. Now in the trailer, they show you a few different ones. They show you Alexander. There's a couple other ones that they show you. You see Phoenix. But it's something in the game, unlike the OG, where it is very special to find those and use those. You can't just use them in any fight. You have to be almost getting your ass kicked, or it's designated for that fight. And what I kind of wish they would have done, and I think they're going to do in this game, is getting the summon materias from Chadley. I don't necessarily like that. I don't necessarily like getting them as like DLC either. I either want to just find them in the world, which you do find. You'll find the Chocobo materia. You'll summon materia.
Knights
You'll
of the
find.
Round.
Yeah, well, if that's in this Rebirth game, I'll be very surprised, but it could
won't
be.
So you could not. So Knights of the Round material was only able to be collected on disc 3. That was it. It was only something you could use towards the back half, especially as you go to fight Sephiroth. Because everything you had to do, you couldn't do some of those things until you got basically free out in the world, and you had to go breed your chocobos and all that shit.
Keep in mind, things are completely changed at this point. From the end of, I don't want to ruin it because I know you haven't played it. You said you know what happens.
I do know what happens. I also know this too because I did read this. Now, spoiler alert: this is about Rebirth. Well, it's not really a spoiler because nothing's confirmed, right? But as far as in the game, again, you should already know this. You shouldn't be watching this video this far in if you have not played Remake. But there are the little wraithy looking ghost guys that
Arbiters of Fate.
Arbiters of the Faith, yes. That are basically there to try to keep the story on track to be like the original game was, right? And the idea behind it is, though, that this game isn't a remake, it's kind of in an alternate timeline. And they even said with Rebirth, I'm not going to say spoiler alert again. I'm not doing it. But
you don't have to.
Obviously, at the end of disc 1, Areith, as she was in 7, the original 7, not Aerith, but Areith, she dies at the end of disc 1. And they have said that is not confirmed that she's going to die at the end of Rebirth because, again, we're in a different timeline. It could go.
We don't know what happens at this point. We've diverted.
Different. Yes.
Yeah, because again, spoilers, I don't give a shit at this point. The game's been out for so long. When they kill that big Destiny monster, that diverged in a tangent timeline, so to speak, if we're going to talk about like Back to the Future here.
Therefore, the timeline in which 1955 Biff gets the almanac is also the timeline in which 1955 Biff never gets the almanac.
In a tangent timeline, or like Donnie Darko is a tangent universe, that the whole what we know to happen in the OG game may not happen the way we expect it to. Now, again, we see all the same locations in the trailer. You see Junon region with the big cannon and I kind of got teary-eyed a little bit when they started doing the march, and you hear the what's his face's theme come on, and they're doing their twirl sticks and shit, and then
wait, don't misunderstand.
Cosmo Canyon, you see that with the Cosmo Canyon theme. The gold saucer and it's not Dust Bowl. What is the name of the wasteland underneath of it? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a theme that goes with that as well, where you find with Dane and Barrett, which that's going to be, I just can predict this shit. When that storyline actually happens, people are going to lose their shit that have never played the OG game. Because that's pretty messed up what happens there. But there's just so much more story to tell in Final Fantasy VII. It's just crazy that even after we've gotten this far, that there's even more to tell beyond that. It's just I can't wait for it because it looks like it's going to be an amazing game.
So here's my problem. Okay, like I had the problem with the combat system going into Remake. I have a problem with, the original game was 3 discs. You played across, so your character, you basically kept leveling up and leveling up. You could get to 99. You could have 9,999 hit points. And you could have 999 materia points. You could even fucking swap them with certain spells.
Yeah.
But with Rebirth, your character will not carry over from Remake at all. Now, supposedly, if you do have save game data, you will get extra items in Rebirth, but your character will not carry over. Your level, nothing. Supposedly, this is because obviously the new characters they introduce, you can't have. If you're like me,
Sure.
Mantis and I were discussing before we jumped on this video. Like, I'm at the end of, I think, chapter 4, and I'm already like level 19. He's at 14, chapter 14, and he's only 24. I go through and level up, and I do a lot of extra stuff as far as just running through and just killing ads. This is what you do. You get used to grinding out and try to get higher level, because I'm still not great with the combat system. So I like having that little extra edge when I fuck things up. But none of that's going to carry over. So if you maxed your character out in Remake, I don't know if you're going to start right back at 0. Rumor is you're going to start at like level 25. So you're not going to start over. And I guess some of the main materials that you get in the game, like the ones that Jesse gives you and things, you will have those, right? Because those you didn't have a choice to get. Like any of the ones that you were given, I guess, or you had, you will have those. But the ones you may not have picked up, I don't know if Chadley's is going to carry over.
And so I'm wondering, what about the materia that I earned from Chadley? Like, what about all of those? What about the materias that I got as DLC, like Cactar, or the what's the one with the little diamond in the dog's head? I forget his name. But like, what about those? Like, did those carry over? We just don't get them, or you got those summon materials, you can use them in this game as well. Personally, I know those are questions to be answered when we find out at the end of the month. I don't particularly care about the leveling stuff, because
I do.
The thing is, the game, the way it's made, at least up until this point, like with Remake, you couldn't go back. There was no point. Who cares if you were fucking level 20 overpowered or whatever? Like, it really didn't matter. In this, I don't see how it matters either. Whether you start at 0 or 25 or whatever, they're going to make the monsters at that level that you're at when you go into the world. So it really doesn't.
I already did all that work, right? The point is, I spent all that time leveling up and grinding to get all of these cool things that then are just taken away from me. It was like we discussed this in Destiny when they went to Destiny 2 and nothing carried over.
Yeah, I mean, I get some items and things that I picked up I want to be able to use in this game. Like, if I didn't get some of the materia that I had, or like, let's say, some of the weapon abilities that I had unlocked don't come over, that would be kind of disappointing. Not game breaking or piss me off, but
I busted my ass to have as many potions and Phoenix Downs as I do right now, and the money I've got. I don't want to fucking lose all that.
Hey, maybe you wasted your time getting stupid shit that don't matter. I mean, that's not the game's fault.
Apparently, it is, because in the original game, that carried over to disc 2. We're not even leaving disc 2, technically. All of this is still disc 1, and I have to start over. It's like starting over mid-disc.
I mean, I would agree with you if it all came out as one game, but it didn't. It's a different game. It's a different. No, they could.
No,
they could.
They should have released one disc at a time. Basically, here is disc 1. 2-3 years later, or whatever it's been, we'll give you disc 2, and then maybe like a year later, we'll give you disc 3, since it was mostly side quests and all in-game shit.
Yeah,
you should have done that like that. Now, I'm not gonna hate on it, because I think first off, 7 has what I think is one of the best stories in game history, and with the remake, they've only improved it, right? Like,
yeah,
you worried they were gonna fuck it up. No, they've kept all the original shit and only made it better. I didn't.
Yeah, they've expanded. Possible. They've expanded on the story. They made it more interesting, because I think they didn't want to fall into a trap in the remake, and I don't think they're going to do that in Rebirth. Clearly not, because we're in a different timeline here. Anything could happen at this point. But you notice, like, it wasn't just a straight up 1-to-1 copy of the storyline and upgraded graphics. Like, that's not what they did. They completely remade the game. Rebirth, I think you're going to get into more of Sephiroth's and Cloud's backstory. I bet they mix in some Zack in there as well. I know you haven't played Crisis Core. It does go
but I
into
know Zack is
in-depth.
basically the black-haired version of him.
Yeah, it goes into Zack's storyline in Crisis Core quite a bit. I would expect them to kind of dabble in it a little in Rebirth. You saw some video of that as well with him and Aerith kind of talking. Or well, she wasn't saying anything because she looked dead. But we don't know what that is. Could be an alternate timeline. Could be a merge of the two. We do not know what's going to happen. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but what I don't want is I don't want to make some fucking decision that come to the end of Disc 1 or end of Rebirth and then Tifa dies instead.
Well, they may do that. I mean, there are things, there are alternate endings in Remake, like conclusions of different characters.
Well, I know, like, even in Remake, they had, and it was the same in the original game, that depending who you talk to the most and conversations you had when you go on the date at the Gold Saucers, and apparently in Remake, you can even go with Barrett.
Yeah, that is in Rebirth. There is the date happens, and you can choose who you want to like. That is a thing for sure. And like, I'm gonna go into the combat and the changes that they're putting in Rebirth that deviates from the old game here. They're emphasizing that party mechanic. Like, the more time you spend with different characters, the more abilities you unlock with them in fights. Probably the more dialogue options, the more options you open up in the story of what could happen. I like that aspect because it makes replayability a thing, right? Like, then I can replay the game and choose different things, and different things may happen. Also, what do you mean now?
No, I'm always going to roll with a party of Tifa, Aerith, and Jesse.
Well,
that's it.
You guys have somewhere to be. It's not polite. Just stare,
Nothing but hot chicks around me.
I mean, you can do that too. You can do that too. I think I like, from what I've seen so far, they dabbled in the Ubisoft realm of like the towers, like they did with like Assassin's Creed, where it unlocks a zone. You go to the tower, you talk to Chadley, you unlock a zone, and you can see everything in there. But it's not like, I need to go do this for 30 different areas. Like, that's not a thing. And I think the way they described it was Chadley unlocks points of interest in those areas, and it directs you to those points of interest to do things. The difference between the OG game and this one with the open world aspect is pretty much the open world in OG was you could get into fights randomly and interact with chocobos, and that's fucking it. Like, it was pretty much pointless other than that. Like, it really was. Like, oh yeah, you drive around a little fucking thing or whatever on your airship. Like, there was really no point for the world map. Like, it just didn't make sense. In this game, it's a big open area, right? So things are going on in between different points of interest, and there's not random encounters. Like, there's monsters, I'm sure, that are in different areas, but it's not like you're going to get randomly hit with an encounter. You know what I mean?
I feel like when you go to the scrapyard in the remake, you can see them there. So if you don't want to go that way, you don't have to go that way, right? I imagine it's going to be like that.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like that. And like they've done in Remake as well. I like the fact of being able to kind of explore an open, vast area and see what's there and find little things, find nooks and crannies, find like a little quest guy over here that takes you into a completely different area. I did like where they talked about in the trailer that they're going to have OG quest lines like in the original, but then there's also going to be new quest lines that may have nothing to do with those type of things. Kind of like they did in Remake to a degree. Because once you get out of Midgar, things kind of they start going 100 miles an hour, right? Like, you start getting into, okay, this whole game is not just in a city, right? Like, there's a whole world. There's other villages and conflicts going on over here. Shinra's got its reach out here, and there's other Wutai's trying to combat that. And like, there's these whole demographics, and Oh yeah, the planet's fighting back, by the way, which I'm really excited to see. They didn't show any of this in the trailer, but I'm sure there's going to be weapons that you have to fight as bosses, I'm assuming, in this game at some point, and I can't wait to see how those fights go.
Now, for those of you who don't remember, or maybe you never played the OG game, or there are a lot of people who played the OG game, but they never went because these were These were on disc 3. You couldn't get to them before then. It had to be in game at disc 3, but they were harder than the final bosses, than Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Was Ruby and Emerald Weapon. Each had their own unique thing. So Ruby Weapon was outside in the sands, outside Gold Saucer, right? So, and when you start the Ruby Weapon battle, and it's optional, you don't have to. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people actually never did because they didn't want to even have to mess with them because they were pains in the ass. Okay, because Ruby Weapon immediately takes one of your characters away, one of your 3 party members. They're fucking gone. So guess what? You're in a battle with 2, and they hit hard. Like switching over to Emerald Weapon. Emerald Weapon, first off, it's underwater, so you're on a countdown clock. You have 30 minutes. Now, there is things you can do. There's a certain quest line you do that removes that clock. But if you just go down there and fight him, you got 30 minutes, and you usually weren't making it. Okay? Also,
it was a straight DPS check.
Yeah, because your max hit points were 9,999. Emerald Weapon would hit your entire party for over 8,000 hit points. Okay, so somebody's got to go heal your characters. Got to cure all and then mimic. So everybody's curing everybody, and your Knights of the Round with mimic, and you got to they were, like I said, they were tougher than the final bosses. The weapons were no joke, and I'm going to be heartbroken if they aren't back in this game. If they aren't in whatever they call
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they'll be in this game. Now, Ultimate Weapon should be in this game if it was technically in, because don't you
Ultimate
fight?
Weapon was not an optional boss. You have to fight him.
Yeah, but you fight him. Do you fight him in Junon? Is that when you
Yes.
fight? I'm trying to remember.
You have to use the big cannon thing to fight. You fire it at him.
Yeah, so I would expect him to be in this game. Again, who knows? I would expect at least him to be in this game. I don't necessarily. I don't know. I'm kind of with you. If they're gonna do those bosses, I see them doing that in the final. I don't know how many games are left that they're gonna do in this project. Only one more game left.
This is supposed to be a 3-game, like a trilogy of games. So we had the first one. We've got Rebirth. So basically, disc 2. Now, granted, disc 3 wasn't a whole lot. Like I said, it was mostly side quests and in-game shit like weapons and getting Knights of the Round and all that. You could go everywhere though. So yeah, that's it. But basically, everything else is going to have to be wrapped up in the next disc. Because they're only putting out one more game. At least that's what I've read. I
would expect that the weapons would be in the last game. I could be wrong, but that's probably what I'm guessing. I feel like this game's going to be the meat and potatoes, make it or break it. I think this game's going to be, from what I've seen, I can't see how it's not game of the year unless it is just completely falls off. A couple of things that I want to see that they do correctly. One is Vincent. I don't know why he's my favorite character. I just like the aesthetic of him. The thing that is bad about Vincent from the OG is his limit break is just like worthless, like just fucking pointless. So I'm interested to see what they do with that, because if they don't change it, then I'm just going to be completely disappointed.
Maybe I'm crazy, but Vincent for me, for some reason, is like Gambit, right? Vincent is the Gambit of X-Men world in the Final Fantasy world for me. Like, he's just that. There's no real good reason why he's awesome. Like, I mean, there is, right? But you can't really put your finger on it. He just is awesome.
I like the fact. Here's the thing, Vincent. I like Vincent, one, because I like horror movies, and he's like you know, he's dead, but he's not, like, in his limit breaks transformed into monsters, right? He turns into a beast, and then he would do, like, he had a Frankenstein one, and then he had a Jason, or not Jason, a leather face. A leather face one with the chainsaw, you know. I mean, he had all these different ones, but they were just kind of just, I don't know, like, especially in game, it was kind of pointless. Like, it just, I don't know. I just hope I don't mind them him changing into those characters. They should have better move sets. That's all I'm saying. Which they easily did. Like, they changed the move sets for other summons in remake. I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing where you have the ability to attack differently with your summons, and then their final move does something. You know, that you really can't control there, and it just does it when they leave the battlefield. So I just think the reason I like him is because his story ties intertwined pretty heavily with Sephiroth, and I think they should explore that quite a bit. And who knows? I mean, maybe they do great with, maybe it sucks, but I hope they do it really well. So
guys, let us know down in the comments how you how you felt about remake. If you liked the new combat system as opposed to the OG game, if you were like me and maybe it was a big turnoff and you struggled to get through it because it wasn't what you remember in Final Fantasy. As well, same thing we've been discussing. What you feel about the not being able to just like carry your character over to Rebirth. You know, just kind of like, does that bother you as much as it does me? Am I out of pocket here? Like, sorry, I know the kids use that. Like, is that not a, like, am I crazy here? Like, that shouldn't bother me as much as it does. You know,
now I'll just say I don't think you're wrong there. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that feel that way for sure. Personally, I enjoy the new combat system. I think it refreshes it. It makes the fights engaging, and you can't just sit back and chill. You have to actually do things, and you still have to plan strategically. Don't get me wrong. Like, you can't just go in there and hack stuff because you will just die. Like, you have to play it strategically or you will lose. You know, they just kind of blend it in a little differently, and I enjoy that aspect. I'm again kind of opposite on you for some parts of the carryover. I wish we could get the items we got and those type of things carried over, because I was like, man, like, before we got on this call, like, I was fighting Leviathan and it was just the dumbest fight ever. And I don't know if it's because I fought him too early, but like, man, it was like a 20-30 minute fight, and you know, it was tough. It was like, there was this such sense of satisfaction after you do it. Don't get me wrong. But if you're telling me I don't get to keep those summon materials, man, that's a bummer. But as far as like, starting over on level and all this, like, I really don't care. I enjoy leveling my character up and assigning points and stuff. So to me, I'm cool with that. Like, that doesn't bother me.
So now let me paint the picture for you real quick here, and then we're going to wrap this up here. When he first jumped on to do the last video we recorded, he was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna win this. I'm not gonna win this." He's like, "Oh, no, I'm gonna start this over." That's how it went. Like, he's trying to, like, that's how it was going. It was very negative in the beginning. It
was very questionable there for, like, I don't know, 6 minutes or so. Cloud and Tifa were both dead, and Barrett had like 700 health, and I just was like, Phoenix down, and then like party heal. Well, yeah, I mean, it was those moments. That's what I love about this game, man. There's moments where you pull through and you're just like, oh yes, it feels so good, right? Like, those moments are what make the game awesome. So yeah.
So, final thoughts here. I would say that, you know what, like, and this is why I'm going back through and playing remake now. I'm moving past the frustration I have for the combat system, because the game itself is just too amazing not to. Even if it was an exact replica of the original story, but with everything they added, it's too amazing. So I'm going to let it. I'm not worried about what's going on. Can't carry the characters over. Fuck it. Like, it's not going to stop me from playing Rebirth, because everything I've seen on the game just looks too amazing, right? And I love the story. And while it's changing up some things, it definitely is sticking with the original for the basic theme of the original story is there. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna play through both of them. And unfortunately, I'll be in the same boat as everybody else probably was, waiting for Rebirth to come out, because then I'll be 2 years removed before the final disc comes out.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It looks amazing. I remember when I first saw the trailer for a remake, and I was just blown away by the rendition of Midgar and everything, and the cinematic of coming down to Areith with the soundtrack, which is another thing we didn't even talk about. They have over 400 new tracks for this game. And Final Fantasy, the big thing about this game, it hits every damn mark. It hits the character development, it hits the gameplay, it hits the soundtrack and the music, it hits the storytelling. It just checks all the boxes, is why the game is so fucking great. And they continue to do that in Rebirth, I think, as well. And I was telling Cal earlier this week that I was just gonna wait. This was Monday. I remember talking about this. It's like, I'm just gonna wait until it comes out on PC, which is gonna be in May. I'm not gonna buy it on my PS5. And then after I watched the trailer, I'm like, no, fuck it.
That didn't even last a full day. Didn't even.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
he changed his mind.
I'm like, nope. I can't wait. There's no way I can wait. I cannot wait. I won't be able to. I know. Because I'm gonna want to know what happens. As I watch streamers, I'm just gonna have. I know I'll play it. So I've just come to grip with, I'm gonna end up buying it. So yep, I can't wait for it. It looks amazing. And like I said, I don't see how it doesn't win Game of the Year.
All right, now real quick, I might end up cutting this out, so this may not even be in the video. Did you play darts at Seventh Heaven?
Me? Yeah.
Did you beat Wedge?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I did too. Just I got freaking 7.
Yes.
Just wanting to see because you get that extra material or whatever from doing that. I just didn't know.
Yep.
I was hoping you didn't get that. I will say my first playthrough for darts, I was 26 darts, and then I got down to 7.
So the first time I played that, it took me a few tries to beat him to get the top score. However, this playthrough, I did it the first time with the minimum amount of darts that you can do. I think I got 6 bullseye, and then 1 in it's in the lower right hand middle section of the dartboard. I can't remember what it is, but
see, if you go to the 20 in the inner ring where it's the triple, you can get 60 per, where you only get 50 per bullseye, right? So you can get 60 times 3 if you line that out. So that way it gives you more of a you can get in the fewest darts possible, and also have room for a little room for error. But either way, sorry,
that's how I did it.
Yeah, so same way on that. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here because this video is kind of going on a little longer than we kind of knew it was going to be longer just because we love the game here. So if you have made it with us this far, we definitely do appreciate it. And like I said in the previous video, we do appreciate all of the new subscribers. Thank you very much. Definitely consider giving this video a like and subscribing, staying up to date for more, because I'm sure we will continue to have more Final Fantasy news as we actually get to play Rebirth. And then, like I said, in the comments, let us know, we already said the 2 discussion topics as well, what you just think about the Final Fantasy series in general, and which is your favorite Final Fantasy.
Yeah, let us know. It's a tie for me, but this game so far is so good. It's very good.
Yes, it is definitely an amazing game. And that is going to do it for us here, you, me, and DC on this special gamer edition Final Fantasy VII. So until next time, guys, we will catch you then.
Later.